Good morning and welcome to today's session of Imagine America Radio, our continuing Career College Exposition webinar series. My name is Bob Martin. I'm the president of the Imagine America Foundation. Joining me on today's session of Imagine America Radio is my foundation colleague, Lee Doubleday. Lee and I are extremely excited about today's career topic, automotive technology, sponsored by Universal Technical Institutes, or UTI. UTI is the country's leading provider of high-quality, career-focused education at 12 locations nationwide. UTI is also a 20-year sponsor of the Imagine America Scholarship and Award programs, having provided admissions-based financial aid to more than 15,000 enrolling Imagine America students. Without taking valuable time away from today's presenter, let me refer any and all inquiries about Imagine America Foundation to our website, www.imagine-america.org, or you can contact either Lee or I by email or telephone at the information located on our website.
Automotive technology careers are some of the most popular programs in career colleges. And since our beginning in 1999, Imagine America remains a leading sponsor of scholarship aid to enrolling high school students. However, our country faces a serious shortage in certified automotive technicians. We hear from employers in virtually all sections of the country desperately looking for qualified employees, so we need to. Our partner in today's presentation is Universal Technical Institute, and joining us today to discuss in detail the looming automotive technician shortage and how UTI is helping meet this need is Dr. Stephen Coyle. Dr. Coyle is a nationally recognized expert in this area with an extensive K-12 background.
Before turning the program over to Dr. Coyle, let me very quickly outline today's agenda. Today's session of Imagine America Radio will be 30 minutes maximum, including questions and answers. Once we finish these remarks, we move directly into today's presentation. All participants can submit questions while the presentation is in session via the Q&A in the Zoom meeting feature. At the end of the presentation, or approximately 10:25, we will then present any and all questions offered by the participants. We will address as many questions as possible and provide written responses in follow-up emails. We will have a hard close at 10:30 a.m. So without taking any more time out of today's presentation, let me turn today's session over to Dr. Stephen Coyle. Dr. Coyle, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, and good morning to everyone. I appreciate you taking time out to tune in to us. I'll get right into the agenda. Our agenda today is threefold. We will start first with challenges facing the workforce, follow that up with opportunities in the transportation industry, and then we will finish up with Universal Technical Institute's career pathways. I always like to start off with the changing workforce because it has changed dramatically from the 20th century to the 21st century. As you can see, in the 20th century, we were very much an agricultural manufacturing economy with some service. But you move to the 21st century, you can see that's done a 180. We are almost totally service-oriented in our economy. That probably doesn't surprise you when you think you own a car, if you own a house, you own a washing machine. You think about how many times you need help on those items, and how hard it is to find someone to work on it, let alone someone who's qualified. So very much service-oriented. You also might look at agriculture and say, wow, what happened there? We went from 41% to 2%. Are we starving to death? Are we running out of food? And the answer is no, we're not. In fact, we feed more people with 2% than we did with the 41%. Why? Due to technology. But once again, that ties back into service because you have to have people to work on that technology. A recent survey was done in 2016. 150,000 students were asked, how many of you would like a skilled trades career? You can see a whopping 3% said, yeah, sign me up. This is what I want to do. You can see not much interest. But then the same group was asked, how many of you would like a STEM career? Over 45% said, yes, sign me up. This is what I want to do. There lies the disconnect. Students do not see the connection between skilled trades and STEM. Unfortunately, we have many educators who also don't see that connection. We tend to think of STEM as being a white collar type of thing rather than blue collar. Well, I like to say that STEM is all collars. because STEM permeates our economy. It's all around us in our career pathways. And so we need to pay more attention to STEM trades. STEM career growth is astounding, and it continues to grow. You can see between 2017 and 2027, it's estimated that STEM jobs will grow over 13%, while all other jobs will grow about 9%. But the more startling statistic is when you look at median earnings per hour. Non-STEM, a little over $19 an hour. STEM, almost $39 an hour. So we're almost a $20 an hour difference. And then we can exemplify that further when we look at the annual earnings. You can see non-STEM occupations, we're looking at a little over $38,000. STEM occupations, almost $87,000 per year. So you can see there is a huge opportunity for earnings in STEM-related careers. Just a little over 20% of the jobs in this country require a bachelor's degree for entry. Only 20%. And on top of this, almost half of our college grads walking around today, they are either not using their degree or they didn't need it in the first place. You know, that's kind of sad in a way. It's startling, but it's sad too, because you think of the number of students that spent time, effort, and money to get a bachelor's degree only to never use it. That would be like going and buying a new car, pulling it to your garage, and just let it sit there. You're not even using it. You're just sitting there with it. And, it's just a waste. And that's why we need to, as educators, we need to do a better job of guiding students in their career pathways and career readiness to get them ready for their specific careers and what they want to do. I talk a lot to educators across the country about the old SMART versus the new SMART. So you look at the old SMART and say, well, how does that work? Well, it's pretty simple. You find the best school you can get into. And then when you get there, figure out what it is that you're going to do. You might laugh at that and say, well, don't people know what they want to major in? Well, did you? Many of you in the audience right now probably changed your majors. I know I did. So once we get there, figure out what it is we want to do. If we figure that out, then we walk out the front door with degree in hand and go, here I am, world, hire me. It just doesn't work any longer. It doesn't fit our economy. We're not getting these students hired. You might even look at the old SMART and say, how ridiculous is that? Nobody does that. Well, I would refer you to the recent admissions scandal that we had, where parents were paying a lot of money to get their sons and daughters into prestigious schools like Stanford and USC, these type of schools, because they wanted them there. What's really sad about that is that many of the students didn't even want to go in the first place. They were only going because their parents were pushing them into this. And the parents risked and ended up getting fines and jail time because of this, because it was what they were doing was illegal. So you might say, oh, that doesn't happen anymore, but yes, it does. Then we graduate to the new SMART. So what's the difference here? Well, the first thing we want to do, let's find out, what does the student want to do? What are they good at? You think of the question we ask every young person: what do you want to be when you grow up? I always challenge high school counselors. When's the last time you asked a sophomore, junior, or a senior who came into your office, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? Try that the next time you have a student. Just ask them that and see the look on their face, because we stop asking. We need to find out. I used to always say, your passion can be your paycheck. I like that little phrase, but what if you're not very good at your passion? That's a problem. So what we have to focus on is, what are students good at? What do they really like to do? I did a STEM workshop in Florida, and I was doing these electronic circuit boards with them, and these were elementary students. They were 2nd through 5th grade, and teacher comes up to me. I had the 4th graders in there, and she had tears in her eyes. I'm going, oh no, what happened? What's going on? And she goes, I want you to look at that little boy in the back. She looked at, he had a little boy sitting there. He was just having the time of his life. She says, I almost didn't bring him. I go, wow, why? She goes, he's a troublemaker. He's always stirring up trouble. He won't pay attention. He bothers other students. But look at him. He was the first one done, and he's been showing other students how to do it. And he's already asked me if he could stay for the 5th grade session. And I almost didn't bring him. And that drives home my point. We have got to figure out what do students like to do and what are they good at, and then build on that. Then the second part of the new SMART is, let's find out what programs do they need. Do they need to go to, the University of North Carolina? Do they need to go to Duke, or do they need to go to a trade school? Why would you send a student that wants to become a welder to a school like that, when we have trade schools that can do a better job of getting the students prepared? So that's why we have to figure out what program do they need, and then figure out what school that they want, so that we don't send them the wrong direction. 65% of all college students drop out. Why? Because they chose wrong, not because of money. It's because they made the wrong decision. The rule of 1-2-7, pretty simple, but I'm amazed at the number of educators that have never heard of this. The rule of 1-2-7, you add 1, 2, and 7 together, you get 10. So for every 10 careers that are out there right now, only 1 requires a bachelor's degree. 1 requires a master's degree or higher. 2 require a bachelor's degree. And then 7 of the 10 careers available right now, today, only require competency-based credentials, meaning a certificate or a diploma or an associate's degree. 7 out of 10. Yet we're pushing students into colleges at almost a 70% clip. So you see what we're doing is just exactly the opposite of what the economy is dictating to us that we should be doing. Skilled trades require STEM. I mean, they go hand in hand. My job is to educate educators, but as educators, you need to educate parents and students. I know the problem that parents can cause, because they're still part of that old SMART, and we have to get them to the new SMART. So we have to drive home that point that STEM and skilled trades do go hand in hand. We have to dispel the myth of university for all. It does not work anymore. You know your students. Not all of your students want to go to the college or university. They want to do other things. They have other ideas, and we need to feed that. We need to help these students with it. The other suggestion I would make to you is drop the word college from your vocabulary. I didn't say drop college. Please don't do that. It's important. It's an important post-secondary option, but so is everything else. That's why you need to use post-secondary education rather than say college. If you have a college day, change it. Post-secondary day or career day or something along those lines. Because when you say college, students automatically think, oh, I have to go to Duke. I have to go to North Carolina. I have to go to North Carolina State. And that's just not true. That may not be the right place for them. So that's why I stress that. And then finally, what are employers looking for? They're looking for competency-based credentials. What can you do? How can you help them? That's what they're looking for. So we need to emphasize that. The second part of our agenda is opportunities in the transportation industry. I don't care if you have a car, you have a truck, a motorcycle, a boat, an ATV, I don't care. Everything is a rolling computer these days. The technology on these vehicles is amazing. Take, for instance, the technology on the cars, maybe the car that you drive or the truck that you drive. Think about that technology and how life-saving some of those are. For instance, the backup camera. We have all heard the horror stories of someone backing over a child, sometimes their own child. Think of the horror. But with backup cameras, we can clearly see what's behind us. Or the blind spot indicators. We've all been honked at. We start to pull over. Gosh, where'd that guy come from? I didn't see him. Thus the name blind spot. And so blind spot indicators help us with that. And I can go on and on, the voice activated navigation, so that we can keep our hands on the wheel and pay attention to the road while we're talking. All these on there. These are important technologies. But what's the problem here is that we don't have anyone to work on this stuff. I read an article about farmers not wanting to buy the new equipment because they can't work on it. It's too high tech for them. And they're worried that they won't be able to find people to work on it, so they don't want to buy it. They want to buy the older equipment. That's a shame, because with the newer equipment, they can get so much more yield out of their fields. Their lives would be so much easier. But yet, we have to have the technicians to work on this, or it's no good to us. There are over 1.3 billion vehicles on the road worldwide, over 273 million of those right here in the United States. By 2028, it's estimated that there will be over 1.1 million technician jobs opening. The skills gap is not narrowing, it is widening, and we have to stop that immediately. And finally, the third part of our agenda, Universal Technical Institute's career pathways. Who is UTI? Well, as Lee and Bob told you at the beginning, we are the leading provider of technicians in the country. We have 12 campuses nationwide. We graduate over 4 out of 5 of our graduates into their chosen, we place them into their chosen field, over 4 out of 5 of our graduates. And you notice I said into their chosen field. That doesn't count that they go to work for McDonald's. It means they go to work in the field that they chose when they first enrolled at UTI. And we have over 220,000 graduates out there, and that number continues to grow as we continue to fight the skills gap in this country. Our training programs. We offer training programs in auto, diesel, collision, motorcycle, marine, NASCAR, CNC, and welding. So 8 different disciplines. When you decide that you want to come to UTI, you first have to go through an interview. You can't just come to UTI. You have to be offered a position here. And what we do in that interview, we meet with the student and their families, and we talk to them about their options, what they might want to do. What do they want to be when they grow up? We really push that with them to find out if we are the right fit, or maybe they should be looking somewhere else. There are also a lot of occupations within occupations on this page. For instance, a student may love cars, but they just don't want to turn wrenches. They don't have to. They could become a service writer, where they would, that's the person you talk to when you first take your car in. Or maybe they want to go to work for an insurance company. They're always looking for claims adjusters, and they love our graduates because when you hit a deer, you see all the dents and dings on the outside. What you don't see is all the damage done on the inside, all the sensors, all the damage done to the engine, that kind of thing. But a trained technician would know those things. We do industry-aligned technology. Why do I say it that way? Because the industry, when they cannot afford anymore to send their technicians off for training, that's downtime, that's loss of revenue. So they do everything online. So that's why we offer online and hands-on. So in the online, we're getting students accustomed to that, and then they come to our labs, and that's where they learn the hands-on training. And so that's what we mean by industry-aligned technology, so that when our graduates leave our school and go into the industry, they're ready. They know what's coming. Our education model is pretty simple. We offer 1 3-week course at a time. That's how we build the technician. So 3 weeks, nothing but brakes, 3 weeks, nothing but transmissions, and so on. That's how we build our technician, teaching competency-based credentials. Of course, in this pandemic, we've had to become CDC compliant. We didn't have to change much. We already did hybrid learning. A lot of schools had to change to that. We didn't have to. But what we had to do is become CDC compliant, which we've done an excellent job of. For instance, we have assigned doors for students to enter and leave. We require temperature checks. We require face coverings. We've reduced the lab sizes so that we can adhere to the social distancing and the 6-foot separation. We require students to wash their hands often, and we clean and disinfect constantly in our facilities. And then finally, we offer phone support. If you still don't feel safe of coming into the campus face-to-face, that's fine. We would be glad to service you over the phone. But everything CDC compliant. We're offering virtual presentations, and we don't know, different schools are in different positions right now. Some schools are open. Some schools are doing a hybrid model where they're open a couple of days and then they go virtual. Some schools are totally virtual. That's fine with us. We can do live workshops, or we can do virtual workshops. But you have to remember that we are in an essential industry. The need for technicians didn't drop because the technician or because of the pandemic. It's actually gone up. So that's why we have, we have to continue with these workshops. And so we can come into your school. We can do the virtual if that's what you require. We use Microsoft Teams or Zoom, but we also can use your preferred platform if you have one that you would rather use. And you can see on the right the type of things that we cover. What is the life you imagined? And talking about financial security, the economics right now of living, today's workforce that I just covered with you, and several things like that. We have a national presence. That's important for two reasons. As I said, we have 12 campuses across the country. You'd be hard pressed to find a dealership that wouldn't know who UTI is. But the other important part of the national presence is, say you want to go to school at NTI in Mooresville, North Carolina, but then you'd like to transfer to Dallas. Well, we have UTI there as well too, so we can help you with career placement. So that national presence is very important. We have over 35 industry relationships. You can see these are what I call the big dogs of the industry. These are the students, the companies that we're preparing our students for. As I often say, we're not preparing students for Jiffy Lube. We're preparing students to go to work with one of these companies. One of the things that we like to do is we like to highlight our graduates. You can see there's 3 of them here on the screen. They all have a smile on their face because they're doing what they love to do. But the other thing they have in common is they have a good work ethic. They're hard workers. This is why we love for our future students to talk to our graduates, because they're going to give them the good, the bad, and the ugly about everything. They're going to help them to prepare for what they're getting into. UTI is not easy. We don't pretend to be. We get our students prepared to go into the industry so that when they go to that dealership, they're ready to go. We offer grants, loans, and scholarships to help make your education more affordable. We are Title IV funded, so therefore we require students to fill out a FAFSA to see if they qualify for financial aid. We have over $15 million in sponsored scholarships. We offer housing grants, institutional grants to help students to afford education. We offer third-party programs to help students out in special needs situations. Number 5, I skipped on purpose, and that's our TRIP program, Tuition Reimbursement Incentive Program. We have over 4,500 employers who take part in this. They give our graduates anywhere from $10,000 up to $30,000 in incentives to that they can use upon graduation. Now, they don't hand them a check for $30,000. They pay them in increments. So they give them an extra $200 or $300 or $400 every pay period, and they can use that money to pay off their student loans, for relocation, whatever. So students could possibly go to school free by the time they get their tuition reimbursement. But there's a catch. They have to work hard. They have to have good attendance. They have to have good professionalism. They have to have good grades, because that's what these companies are looking for. I'm a retired educator. I know exactly what you guys do on a daily basis. We know the importance of counselors. And all we try to do is give you information to help you, like the Rule of 127, talking about career readiness and career pathways, all these type of things that we know you're already doing. We just want to support you. And that's how UTI can help. We love to host your students at our open houses, or we can come visit your school and do the workshops, as I mentioned. We can do professional development. I do a lot of that across the country. We want to show students how they can make their education more affordable. We want to show them all the different career pathways that they have available to them. You can find us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, and uti.edu, along with our television commercials that you've probably seen as well. And then finally, I'd like to conclude with with my contact information. This is my email address. This is my phone. I would invite you to reach out to me if you have any comments or questions of any kind. What we want to do is partner with you, and that's what I do. I work with counselors all over the country, and I'd love to work with you. Thank you so much for your time today, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Coyle. We are going to now open this up to the question and answer portion of our session here. If anybody does have a question, please feel free to click on the Q&A button in this session meeting and ask your question. And we do actually have one that came in for you, Dr. Coyle. They wanted to know, this one comes from the Raleigh area. It wants to know if we wanted to talk to one of Universal Technical Institute's local reps, should we go to the UTI website or contact you directly?
Well, they can do either one. They can go to our website, uti.edu, put an inquiry in and tell what you're looking for, and someone will reach out to you. But if you feel more comfortable, please feel free to email me or call me, and I can get you to the right person.
Hey, Dr. Coyle, the second question has to do with comparisons, programmatic and cost comparisons between community or junior colleges and UTI. Could you touch on that a little bit, please?
Absolutely. I get this question all the time. We wanting to know how they compare, because especially when you're dealing with parents, they look at tuition costs of one versus the other and say, oh, wow, this is more expensive than this one, or whatever the case may be. You have to look at the total picture, and you also have to look at ROI, the return on the investment. You have to remember that with community colleges, you're going to be in school 2 to 3 years. And then if you go on to the college or university, 4 to 6 years. At UTI, you're going to be in school 10 to 17 months. And that's it. So many of our graduates are out working in the field at age 19. And they're out earning a living rather than spending more money on their education. So that's why you want to look at that. And then the other thing is our trip package that we offer. That's the great equalizer, I think. Because if I say, well, I got this program, I can go to school free. Well, you could do that at UTI if you meet the requirements that it's going to take there. So all in all, we compare very favorably to the community colleges.
You know, Dr. Coyle, that's a great point. It's particularly the first one, because I think parents are really, really interested in getting their student out there and doing what they want to do, what they have a passion for. And what I hear you saying is, if that's the case, UTI can get them out doing what they want to do, pursuing their passion in 12 to 18 months sooner than if they went to a different path.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we try to drive home. We do, and the other thing is we do manufacturer-specific training. So we're not preparing students, as I said before, for Jiffy Lube. We're preparing our students for Mercedes, for BMW, for Porsche, these kind of companies. So the manufacturer-specific training is key.
I think that's a spot on. That's exactly right. Let me, if I could, go over some final logistics for all of our participants, so they know they got this. They have a better understanding. First of all, the Imagine America Foundation, we're going to compile and forward all of these questions related to Universal Technical Institute and automotive careers. Secondly, the foundation has recorded this session, and we're going to be forwarding this recording to all the registrants. So you get a second opportunity, second bite at the apple, if you want to look at and listen to Dr. Coyle's presentation. Third is, foundation is going to place this particular recording, this session, on our website, which is www.imagine-america.org, with very specific download instructions. So you can go in and download it at your convenience and listen to it. Finally, we're going to be conducting a survey, which Lee does immediately after this session. So what we want to do is gauge you on topics and locations for future sites. So we really encourage you to give us some feedback when you get the questionnaire from Lee. Before closing, I'd like to thank any and all the participants for taking time out of their very busy schedules to join us today. We know that you've got a number of competing priorities, and we also know that you've got a limited amount of time, particularly given the current national COVID crisis. I'd like to thank Dr. Coyle for sharing with us today's presentation, and encourage you, any and all of you, to contact him directly with any questions related